Hello everyone, this is part 11 of What If Naruto Was Raised by His Father, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. Naruto lay in bed, he gazed at his ceiling for some sort of answer. It was only a few hours more till they were to leave. Naruto was just laying there looking for an answer that he would probably never find, at the ceiling anyways. The thing was, Naruto wasn't trying to find the answer to why the Hokage was so nice to him all the time, and nothing at all about Sasuke. No, he was looking for the one answer he would probably never find. Maybe one day he would find the answer, but he knew it wouldn't be in Konoha. No, he'd never find the answer he was looking for here. Maybe, just maybe, out there in one of the other lands he could possibly find it, but he knew it wasn't here. Naruto slowly raised his right hand up over his head directly so he could look at it, and he gave a low sigh. He could now barely feel the chakra build up in that arm of his, from that jutsu. That's why he couldn't use that arm all that well. He cursed himself mentally for using it so many times. This jutsu is a wind type, a very powerful one at that. This jutsu can cut all the chakra threads in your body permanently. And some were already gone in his arm. But that was alright, or was it? That's another thing he wanted answered. He knew all too well that if he used this jutsu too much, his dream would never come true. To be Hokage is what he wants more than anything. But was giving up his right arm worth it, and maybe the rest of his body as well? Naruto put his arm back down and gave a sigh. This was one thing that he actually wasn't scared of. He wasn't worried, all he wanted to do was to get Sasuke back and make Sakura happy. He knew Sakura was in love with Sasuke, that came clear to him whenever Sasuke and him were alone. She seemed the same, but with Sasuke it was different. And Naruto had to admit he was jealous of the Uchiha for stealing the young pink-haired girl's heart. But then again, he wasn't. There was something he knew. He knew something he could probably never do for Sasuke that Sakura could. Naruto looked to his left out the window and gave a sigh. His eyes wandered to the faces carved in stone. He knew all the bumps, scratches, holes and everything. He gave a low sigh and sat up. He couldn't sleep, it just wouldn't happen. He wondered how Sakura was doing. Was she up like him or asleep? Probably asleep, muttered Naruto as he lay back down to get some more sleep. Other side of Konoha. Sakura walked back and forth in her room nervously. The thing was, she wasn't nervous about seeing Sasuke. No, she was actually worried for Naruto. She knew she could never fill Sasuke's place, neither could Sai. They both tried, but they just couldn't do it. That was a place that wasn't meant to be filled by no one else than him in Naruto's heart. Ever since she found out about 2 years ago that Naruto held the demon fox, she always felt bad for treating him the way she did. But, no, that's not was fully on her mind. She was worried for the blonde idiot. Such as, well, she knew Sasuke and him would end up fighting one another again. And she would try to help Naruto, but he would push her away and tell her to help someone else. She was scared for the boy. She knew Sasuke was strong as well as Naruto. They were probably an even match, but she knew the only way they would be even was if he used that new jutsu. That's something that scared her the most. Her thoughts were being clouded. She actually wondered, would Naruto give up his dream just to bring Uchiha back? She knew the answer, but still, using that technique a few more times, she knew he would probably lose all control of his chakra and never be able to use it again. She had watched his fiddle around with his arm one day, shaking it over and over trying to get something to work. She knew at once, he was trying to get his chakra control to work in it again normally. Sakura then looked out her window onto the moon. It was full tonight. It seemed larger than ever before and more beautiful. But too bad she couldn't enjoy it as much as she wanted to. Sasuke, Naruto, muttered Sakura as she dreaded the thought of the day to come. Naruto, now rubbing his nose from a recent sneeze, gazed out onto Konoha. He loved this village, and he knew the fourth loved it as well. That's why he gave up his life once to protect it. But now Naruto got to thinking, would there be a second time he'd give his life to save the leaf? But Naruto didn't want the cage to give another life. The fact of the matter was Naruto told himself once he'd give a 1,000 lives for Arashi before he'd ever have to S again. Then as if on cue there landed the blonde Hokage in front of him, and looked at him with a shocked face. He probably hadn't expected Naruto to be up this time of night, nor to be sitting on his ledge. As the blonde gazed at the other blonde they both gave a low sigh, and a lazy smile. It was odd the bond they had between them. I thought you would be in bed, smiled Arashi. Oi, about you. You're up late too, said Naruto. I know, but I was just checking on you all to make sure you all asleep. Well, everyone is asleep except for you, Sakura, that Sai kid, and the Nara boy. Shikamaru. Yeah, he challenged me to a game of shogi. He's pretty good at getting about 10 steps ahead of you. Sucks at trying to stay focused when you talk to him, smiled the blonde as Naruto gave him this lazy. Well, look. So, if my mother was here, what would she tell us to do about Sasuke? That's an unexpected question, said Arashi. Sorry, no, it's alright, let me think. Probably the same thing she told me when I was gone to get a lost friend, said Arashi. You had a friend who was lost, said Naruto, the first time he'd ever heard the news. Yeah, he was on my team as well. Well, I guess that's how we make our closest friends, huh? By working and arguing with them. Yeah, one day he left to go find what he wanted in life. The next thing I knew he was an S-ranked criminal ninja. Naruto was listening intently. So, I like you in a way. Tried just to get him back. I had to at least be your age. It was before I knew the body flicker. So I trained and trained to become worthy enough to fight against him, and show him Konoha is not an enemy village. Why would he think that? Blurted Naruto. Well, Naruto, in my day, not every village was kind to each other as they are now. Leaf only had a few alliances. And many villages didn't like Konoha and the way we thought. So my friend had been one of those rogue ninja. He had refused to train under Orochimaru. The snake once asked but he denied. So he joined a group of ninja who lived in rock country. And, hey, then one day I asked the Hokage, the third, if I could be the one to lead the group of ninja. To go and get him, or, either way K him. Quote. So, we headed out. Our group consisted of Hunter Ninja and Anbu. About 3 or 4 for the Anbu and Hunter Ninja were actually Onama's relatives. Still listening, hanging on to every word. So, we found them after a week of searching. And we killed them, all 15 of them. Even. Yeah, I was the one to do it. Naruto, that day I think part of me SD, it had been the worst feeling I had ever felt. And before I had even left the village, your mother's exact words were, I swear to God, if you don't come back, I'll dig you up from your grave and bring you back to life. Just so I can have the pleasure of killing you myself for S. Naruto gave a laugh and looked at the cage who sat next to him. So this is your house, said Arashi as he jumped through the window, causing Naruto to fall backwards on the bed. Yeah, it's messy, was the only thing Arashi said as he wandered around the small apartment and looked at the various pictures Naruto had on either the wall or his desk. The odd thing was there by the windowsill was this odd collection of plants. What's with the, when I was younger, no one would acknowledge my existence, or even talk to me the slightest. So I started to grow plants. Because they couldn't say mean things, they would just listen to me talk. And they relied on me, said Naruto as he sat up and shook his head a few times. You mother loved to garden, that's why there are so many plants around the house, said Arashi. What? She gardened you house, how come? What? Said Arashi as he suddenly couldn't remember what he said. You said, right, well get some sleep. Big day tomorrow. Yeah, said Naruto as the blonde left through the window, leaving Naruto to curl up in bed and close his eyes and try to sleep. The sun was now shining through the open window, a soft breeze filled the room of baked goods and well leaves. The pink-haired girl opened her eyes and gave a slight yawn. She slowly sat up. They weren't supposed to meet for another hour. But that gave her time to actually get ready. So as Sakura pulled herself upwards and swung her legs over the side of the bed, her eyes met the ones of Uchiha. Well, his pictures anyways. As she looked at it, her heart instantly skipped a few beats. Today was the day they would finally bring Sasuke back to Konoha. Sakura gave a faint smile as she walked across her room, and lifted the picture up from the place it sat on her desk. As she gazed at it, she gave a faint smile. She looked to Sasuke, then to Naruto. They were always rivals. Always challenging each other, but she guessed that's what really made them friends in the end. But now, she wondered, could that bond that Sasuke broke those years ago actually be mending again by Naruto, or would it stay shattered forever? Naruto stood waiting at the gate of the village. Next to him had been Sai. They hadn't been waiting long. Naruto had been the first to show up. There came Sai only a short while after. They both stood there in silence. Soon Arashi joined up, followed by Sakura and Kakashi arriving last. Surprise that he would be last. They all looked at one another and nodded their heads, and they then headed out. Hey, said Naruto to Arashi as they ran side by side. About that letter I got from Sasuke, what did it actually say? Asked Naruto as his eyes lowered for a moment. What? I know Sasuke wouldn't write such things, so after I took it to the Hokage, I overheard some people say it was a fake, that the real message was mixed up in the letter. Is that true? Asked Naruto, who now got the attention of Sakura and Sai as well. Yay, that's right. The letter you read was a fake. All it really said for you to meet him at the border of Sound. That's it? Asked Sakura. Well, it's to the point, and Sasuke was always like that. But why would he make such a long detailed? Asked Naruto. Who knows, you'd probably be the best one to know that, right? You two are friends, said Arashi. There was a time when I truly believed that Sasuke and I were friends, but now, no, Sasuke and I are no longer friends. From the moment he tried to kill me, our friendship truly shattered. Said Naruto as he kept a constant pace alongside Arashi. But no matter how you look at it, Naruto, Sasuke will always be, and will always be your Nakama, said Arashi as they pushed forward. Nakama meaning comrade, college, act. That may be true, but this time, in the battle between us, there will only be one person left standing. Naruto, muttered Sakura under her breath as she watched the blonde go a bit faster towards their destination. With Sasuke, they're late, stated a girl with weirdly chopped hair. While the Uchiha stays silent. I have to agree, even though I don't want to, they are late. That's irritating. I thought you said they were always on time, Sasuke. Said a man with shark-like teeth. Don't worry, they'll come, said the Uchiha. As his bind flickered to Naruto for a mere moment. You sure? Don't question him, said the other as he stayed sitting on the tree. What are you planning, Sasuke? You seem still, said Karen as she walked up to Sasuke and tried to hold his hand, causing him to sidestep away from her. You're excited, aren't you, Sasuke? Smiled Sugetsu. Silence. Of course he is, he can't wait to see his Naruto again. Stop talking as if he's gay. Wait, did you say Naruto? Isn't there a bridge named after a kid named Naruto? In Water Country, implied Karen as she got to thinking. Uzumaki Naruto, Konoha's most idiotic ninja to ever be produced from there. You seem to know him quite well, Sasuke, how is that? Implied Karen. You don't know much about Sasuke, do you? Said a voice from the trees. As a blonde blue-eyed ninja stood in front only 50 meters away. Followed by 4 others. Was all that came from the Uchiha. Sasuke, was all Sakura could mutter out as she gazed at the boy. So, you're all here then. Team Kakashi, who's that? Said Sasuke as he looked to the Hokage. The thing was he'd never actually seen the cage, or a picture. Orochimaru kept him more secret than anything else. Not even Kabuto was allowed to see the 4th. The elder blonde held no emotion whatsoever of him face as he looked to the 16 to 17-year-old Uchiha boy. So this guy, is Sasuke Uchiha, Naruto's so-called friend. Thought Arashi as he looked at the teen. Both Naruto and Sasuke seemed to be looking at each other for a long time. Team Kakashi, well, what do we have here? You're kinda cute, said Sugetsu. As he suddenly appeared in front of the pink-haired girl. Naruto instantly looked back. He moved faster than he had expected, but he hadn't none body flicker. He could tell that easily. Sakura seemed started for a moment wondering where this creep appeared from. He kinda looked like someone she knew, but couldn't put a finger on it. That was until Naruto blurted it out. Zabuza, what are you doing with his sword? Said Naruto as he looked wide-eyed at the man before him. What's it to you, brat? Said Sugetsu. Naruto, you shouldn't look away from an enemy. It gives them a wide opening, said Sasuke as he suddenly was in front of Naruto with his sword out and was about to strike when Naruto was no longer there. His eyes semi-widened, he hadn't seen the blonde move. What exactly was going on? Sasuke turned his gaze to his back where Naruto stood holding a kunai to the back of Sasuke-sen, ready at any time to fully paralyze the Uchiha. He could have done it, and gotten the battle over with. But he stopped. And isn't also true, not to underestimate the enemy. Enemy, was all Sasuke repeated. So it finally happened. Naruto Uzumaki finally gave up. This time Sasuke knew that this time there was only going to be one left. One left standing. In the end, nothing would ever be the same. Naruto stood still looking at Sasuke. They both were silenced. Clashing could be heard in the background. Sakura, Arashi, Jiraiya and Sai were fighting. Arashi had been fighting Karen and Jiraiya was fighting Juugo. Sakura and Sai were fighting the one whom had taken Zabuza's sword. Naruto stood still. He had so much regret in him at that moment, so much hurt. He didn't want to fight Sasuke even though deep down in the pits of his soul he wanted to fight the Uchiha and Sasuke the same. But all Sasuke wanted out of this was to gain the Mangekyo Sharingan, nothing more. King Naruto in his mind would be easy. Thoughts of him and Naruto as kids ran through his mind, how the blonde was always a screw-up and had to try extra hard at everything he did. While Sasuke could easily do it, and about 70 times better. They stood still glaring each other down. Sasuke had grown such as Naruto, they were close to height, but not very much. He was still an inch or two taller than the blonde. Sasuke then made the first move, instantly started to make hand signs faster than Naruto could see. The only thing the blonde did was stand there and watch, waiting for what the raven-haired teen was going to do. Then instantly he was gone. He used a type of body flicker, and there was another Sasuke next to him, but the blonde could sense something that wasn't right. As the Uchiha to his right made a jab at Naruto, he didn't move. Instead he caught the hand and then wrist of Sasuke who appeared on his left. You saw through it, said Sasuke mildly surprised. Normally if it had been the 12-year-old Naruto Sasuke had been fighting, Naruto would have made a move to the fake Sasuke while the other one struck for AK. That was too easy. I'm kind of disappointed Sasuke, that was lame even for you, said Naruto as Sasuke then struck down the blonde in the shoulder. Blood could be seen and a cough could be heard. But then just as that happened Sasuke heard something in the background and the Naruto in front of him disappeared in a cloud of smoke. Rasengan, yelled Naruto as he thrust the spiraling ball into the Uchiha's back. But he didn't hit anything. The raven-haired teen once again used body flicker. Quote. Naruto stayed silent as he looked all around for the Uchiha boy. He needed to keep him in one spot. He needed him to not move. Then he was grabbed by the back of his hair and thrown forward on the ground. Face it, you loser, you will never beat me. You should have spent more time training to become Hokage than to worry about me, said Sasuke. He was now fully in his horrid demon-like form, wings spread out looking down upon Naruto. Sasuke, would you let someone who couldn't even save one friend really become a Hokage? If you trained more, you may have been able to save me. But wasting your time such as you did, will get you nowhere. Don't underestimate me, I haven't been wasting my time. I've been training for the last 5 years to get to this day. And I promise I won't let you down yet, said Naruto as he instantly shot his leg up, causing the Uchiha to jump off the blonde and to stand 5 feet away from each other again. But this time Sasuke wasn't there. Sakura had been dodging every attack. She couldn't get a chance to attack. Sai was having an equally harder time, as he tried to attack the Suigetsu, but he would instantly dodge it and send 2 attacks to the teens. As they fought, Sakura was able to get a glance over to Naruto. She knew that she shouldn't worry. But that was who she was. No matter how much he wanted to change it, she had always worried for the two, and she was still worrying to this day. She watched out of the corner of her eye as they swung at each other, yet they weren't using their major attacks, as if to wait for something, some significant time to use their most sly attacks. They were stalling, but why? Then she was caught back into the real world when Naruto's voice ran through the air. Sakura, yelled Naruto, instantly causing her to duck just in time from a swing from the sword. Naruto, not now, yelled the pink-haired girl. Yeah, not now. Naruto, Pinky is a bit busy right now, aren't you? Smiled the shark-toothed freak. Where the hell is Kakashi? yelled Naruto, causing almost everyone on the team to instantly stop. They all sneaked glances towards each other, Arashi, the pervert, Naruto, Sakura, Sai. They all suddenly realized he wasn't there anymore. Damn it, where did he go? Muttered Arashi, this isn't like him to just leave. He probably saw something, an enemy ninja, said the pervert. That had better be it, said Arashi as he threw about a dozen kunai at the man named Juugo. As he said, who was fully transformed and looked much like Sasuke with his horrid appearance. Naruto and Sasuke looked at each other full of worry, hate, warning, freedom, and envy. They had gone off. This had been Sasuke's plan to isolate everyone from Naruto. So he wouldn't have 2 or 3 people trying to attack him at once. This fight was meant to be just between Naruto and him, no one else. Not even Sakura. Sasuke looked at Naruto. He knew the blonde idiot improved, but he wondered how much had he really improved. This was the time to test it out. That's another reason why he led the blonde this far, so they could battle in an area in which he knew Naruto would be willing to use his hidden attack to its fullest without worrying about the others. Sasuke then pulled out his long sword and pointed it at the blonde. He knew Naruto was never fully great at the whole sword and large weapons things. So instantly he thought that this would be the blonde's downfall and Sasuke's advantage. But unknown to Sasuke, Naruto needed no weapon to fight with except kunai and his techniques. But because of his clouded mind, he'd forgotten about the 4 special kunai in his pouch alongside the other 27. So as Sasuke swung his sword down towards Naruto's shoulder, it was reflected by about 5 or 6 kunai. But unfortunately for Naruto, it just cut straight down the side of his arm as he tried to dodge it as he moved to the right. Naruto then held his bloody arm, trying to regain some movement in it. It had hurt like hell. He knew something was in the tip of the blade. It wouldn't surprise him if there were a poison in it. He wouldn't put it past Sasuke, or the damned snake that was in his own dimension trapped for all eternity till Sasuke's soul became weak. Hurts, doesn't it? You get hit 10 more times like that. You're going to said Sasuke. Well, Sasuke, you better strike the other 9 now. Because if not, you're not going to get those 9 strikes in after this next attack, said Naruto as 2 shadow clones appeared and started to whirl something into the palm of his right hand. Hey, I've been waiting to see this, said Sasuke. As his sword started to shake with small blue lightning blots over and over, it got slowly larger and started to run towards the blonde till he threw the rest of his kunai at Sasuke, and at that moment he started to hit them away till a blonde flash appeared in front of his eyes and a startled blue-eyed man appeared before him and was struck with the sword. Everything went silent. Nothing moved for a few moments. Sasuke's eyes widened as blood spattered on his clothes and his face. He could feel something jabbing in his side, but there stood Naruto, his great ball of chakra now gone, looking in shock at the blonde man who was now smiling like a madman as he pushed the kunai in the Uchiha boy. Naruto couldn't believe it. The blonde appeared out of thin air. He thought he made sure there were none of those kunai in his pouch. He had made sure of it, he told himself that under his breath. Then instantly Sasuke's sword drew out of the blonde man's chest, and backed away. He wasn't sure what just happened. He thought he'd struck Naruto till he saw the blonde teen still in the same spot. Then he thought it was a shadow clone. But this time the blonde didn't disappear. This was actually the 4th. Quote. H. Hokage, muttered Naruto as he looked stunned at the blonde who staggered backwards and coughed some blood up. Hey, damn. Maybe it wasn't a good idea to sneak those kunai in your pouch, but then again I could have just saved your life, huh? Laughed the blonde as he coughed up more blood and slowly collapsed to the ground. Sasuke stood back looking shocked, a face Naruto hadn't seen in years, a face he was sure Sasuke had probably forgotten. Naruto then ran towards the blonde Hokage and caught him before he hit the ground. What were you thinking? Said Naruto as he looked at the Hokage who now lay in his arms completely wounded. I wasn't, ha ha. Kakashi had thrown a few around at enemies so I could attack them, and you unfortunately threw them around the same time. Coughed the Hokage. Don't talk, I'll get Sakura to help you. Said Naruto. No. There's nothing she would be able to do right now, smiled the blonde. Don't say that. She's a great medical ninja, she could. Naruto, listen. I know my body better than anyone else, and by the time she got here she wouldn't be able to do anything. But, listen, don't give me that I feel guilty look. You knew that one day this would happen. This is the way of the ninja. You have to remember that. Ninja go to battle and sometimes even when they don't want to go yet. But that's the way of our life, that's why we become ninja, to protect those who we hold close to us. And I'm glad that I could have protected you even for just a brief moment. Smiled the blonde as his breath became slower and almost soundless. Silent tears fell down the blonde's face as he looked to the elder blonde in his hands. But, what if I don't want you to yet? We all promised to come back no matter what, remember? And you promised you'd tell me more about my family. Hey, I did, didn't I? Hey, if you look in my library at my house you'll find everything you need. Just remember, Naruto, no matter what people tell you. Never give up on your dream, no matter how many people tell you, you can't. Just try to find ways to prove them wrong, and promise me you'll become Hokage, or else I'll kick your ass when you Quote. Naruto, please. I had a chance at life twice, something that no one should ever have, something that goes against nature. I used to regret coming back, when so many others would have been more worthy than me to come back. Worthy? What the hell are you talking about? But, I am glad I did come back, Naruto, because I got to meet you. It's ironic, isn't it? You were the last face I saw when I almost 17 years ago, and again you will be the last face I see again. It's because of me, both times. If it weren't for me and that damned Naruto, didn't I tell you to shut up about that? It was never your fault, not even this time. But, Naruto, I am glad I met you. I truly am, no matter how much you may think that you caused my death. Just remember you didn't. Don't let your heart get clouded by hate and regret like his did. Let yours stay pure and kind, because that's who you are. You are no one else but yourself. I want you to remember that, Naruto Uzumaki. I will regret not seeing the outcome of this all, but I put all my faith into you. Said Arashi as his eyes finally closed, and his heart finally stopped. Naruto sat there. Hidden tears fell down his face as his trembling hands slowly slid their way away from under the Hokage and gently put his head on the ground and stood up. His eyes were now blood red, his nails upon his hands grew immensely. Sasuke finally looked up from his own little word to see Naruto forming the great ball of chakra in his hands once again. Sasuke then knew Naruto finally was starting to get serious. He'd never seen this look in his eyes before, full of rage and hate. In fact, just by looking at the blonde deep down, it scared the heck out of him the way the blonde looked at him. Then he started to form his own Chidori in his sword. Once both techniques were done, they looked at each other for a brief moment before they started to charge at each other. Blood spattered more than once that day, once from Naruto, again from the Hokage, and more than a few times from the rest of the old Rookie 9, and along with the adults. But the sad thing was the realization that two friends fought to the brink of death to prove a point. One to show that there would always be a bound between them, while the other wanted to gain something horrid in a quick and easy way, even if it were to kill a friend. Naruto stood still, an arm clung to the back of Sasuke with a hand piercing through his chest, while Sasuke's arm was clung around the blonde's shoulder and his sword struck through the blonde and was forced upwards, breaking more than just bone. And they stayed like that for a whole 2 seconds, which seemed like an eternity for them. A small smile was played across both faces. That was until a huge BAMG was heard and the two were blown apart. Ha he, panted Sakura and Sai as they held various parts of their boss, and Sugetsu before them stood standing still. That was until the ground shook and all heads were to turn to where Naruto and Sasuke had been fighting. Sakura had forgotten about the fight when she saw a speck of orange fly through the air and ram into Sugetsu, causing them to fall down. Blood was seen everywhere, and the man whom had been the one to end the two teens' life now lay as Naruto has at the last minute thrust of his Rasengan into his head, instantly killing him. But the thing was, it wasn't meant for him. Naruto had thought it had been Sasuke, while Sasuke rammed into the female, who lay almost but now was completely gone, for Sasuke had struck his sword down upon her. The two boys then got up, both coughing blood, looked at each other, barely being able to stand still. Both vision was becoming blurry, but Naruto shook his head over and over again to regain his vision, while Sasuke was doing the same. Hey, some attack you got. Hey, jealous now, Sasuke? I guess all that training you've been doing was actually useless, wasn't it? I barely felt your sword go through me, said Naruto as he now stood only in a pair of sped pants and a netted shirt. While Sasuke was the same, but wore no shirt and his weirdly long black gloves. I won't lose to you, you loser. yelled Sasuke as he ran towards the blonde, both out of chakra and energy. I will not lose to the likes of you. I will not lose to you. I will keep my promise to the fourth, and become Hokage, yelled Naruto as he ran towards the raven-haired teen. They both hit each other square inside of the face. They both stood still and then flew 10 feet away from each other, laying still on the ground. Neither of them seemed to move. The battle was over, Leaf had won. There was no doubt about it. But Sakura silently walked over to Naruto, scared, petrified to discover something she'd never want to imagine. As she silently bent down alongside the blonde and started to pump chakra into him, she could only seal his wound halfway, and she got Sai to bandage him up. She then looked across to see Sasuke being picked up by the old Sannin and a few Anbu members. One was slowly healing him enough to get back to the village. He was completely knocked out. Then something instantly caught her attention. Naruto started to move. He slowly sat up, while Sakura's hand was firmly on his chest. But he shoved her away. She knew she wouldn't be able to stop him. He then stood up and started to walk toward the Suigetsu and picked up Zabuza's sword and looked towards the field where they left the fourth. He just stared. Kakashi then came over and took the sword from the blonde, knowing it probably took all his strength to lift it. Blood was seeping through the bandages, but he didn't care, and then left Kakashi and walked towards where the fourth was. The hermit noticed Naruto walking over to a certain spot. Kakashi then noticed her along with Sakura and Sai. Sakura could only stare as Naruto knelt down to the fourth, Kakashi and Jiraiya standing behind looking at the ground. Sakura may not know what happened, but she knew at that moment that nothing about Naruto would be the same again. She knew from just looking that the fourth Hokage was 2 weeks later. When they had gotten back to the village, the news hit the whole village and the surrounding villages in half a heartbeat. The next day a funeral would be held for the fourth. Out of the 11 ninjas who had gone, only one had SD. Some would say that was good, while others would look down upon them. Naruto had been bandaged up badly, along with a few other of the ninja. Sasuke was being held under the Anbu protective arrest probably for the next few years, without any news from the outside world. So the funeral went on. Naruto had to watch it from the hospital room. He would have loved to be there, but the Hokage refused. He could barely sit up in his bed. There had been many people who came to the funeral, such as the feudal lords, the Kazekage and many other Kages who allied with Leaf. It hadn't rained that day. There wasn't a surprise there. The fourth never did cry or feel bad, so it suited the day to be happy. As if the fourth were looking down upon them with a smile. After the funeral, people went on to being themselves, back to going around and being who they were. But there was one ninja who would never go back to being the same. There sat Naruto. He was sitting not at the ramen stand but at the third training ground. He wasn't sat by the posts or on them. Instead he sat in a tree off in the distance watching 12 to 13-year-olds practice. It made him smile to see them so full of energy and life. He had still been in bandages all across his body, except for his head, but from his end down he was completely white. He hadn't been himself for the last 2 weeks. The day after the fourth was buried, he'd heard the worst news a ninja could ever hear. One that would forever change his life, and not for the good. Sakura sat across from Sasuke. Her eyes were lowered. She was told to come in and do a medical checkup. Every other ninja who tried to go near him were too frightened. She was the only one who wasn't, and the fifth was too busy with paperwork and drinking sake after hearing the news about the fourth. So she sat there waiting for his permission for her to continue. He'd already tried to hit her. So she sat looking at the ground. When she was younger, she'd have no problem looking at the Uchiha. She wasn't scared of him. No, she was mad. She was mad at the fourth, Kakashi, the fifth, and Sasuke, but mostly furious at Naruto. That's one reason why she didn't gaze him, because if she were to look him in the eyes, she knew she'd have him knocked out by now. She just wanted to unleash all her anger on someone. Even though it wasn't her business, she was mad. Mad at Kakashi for teaching Naruto that horrid technique. Mad at the fourth for trying to create it. Mad at Naruto for actually learning it and inflicting that much damage upon him. But she was just rigid at Sasuke, because Naruto had learned that technique to bring him back, fully knowing that he'd give up his life as a ninja forever. And not caring, all he wanted was to see her smile, right, again. Are you going to sit there all day, or what? Said Sasuke suddenly. She hadn't jumped like she normally would have. No, she stayed silent till she finally looked up and stared into his eyes. They were full of emotion, mostly hatred could be seen in them. Sasuke looked at her, he could tell there was something wrong, even if he asked. Like he ever actually would, she wouldn't have told him, she wasn't allowed. She had sworn not to tell him anything till he was released. It may have been cruel, but that's how it was. There was nothing he could do anyways. How have you been feeling? Are they treating you all right? Asked Sakura as she opened her medical bag, and pulled various things out, such as needles and bandages along with something in a small nicely carved wooden case. Fine, except that I'm stuck down here, without any information from anyone. They tease me every day, try to brainwash me, said Sasuke sarcastically as he rolled his eyes and looked at her. She just sighed and took the cap off the needle and headed towards him. He then jumped up, but his chains caused him to fall on the floor, and move as fast as he could without chakra away from her. Sakura gave him a skeptical look till she gave a low sigh and continued to walk towards him. Sasuke, I wouldn't hurt you, all that's in this is medication. That's all, it wouldn't hurt you in any way, it will just make you feel better. Said Sakura as she knelt down a little ways from him. Quote. You take it, said Sasuke, he never did trust needles after the damned snake Sannin. Sasuke, what did he do to you? Fine, if that will make you take it. I haven't had the needle yet, so I will take it now to show you it won't kill you, said Sakura as she pulled off her white doctor's coat and lay it on the ground, and then take off her cloth that covered her elbows and tie an elastic band around her arm, wait for a minute, then slowly put the needle in her arm. It only lasted a few seconds till she was done, and covered the spot with gauze and a piece of tape. And walk over to her medical bag and get the other needle. Sasuke watched her as she pulled out the needle with the same liquid and same name upon the side and walk over to him and kneel down. Quote. Sasuke, let me give you this, it will make you feel better, it'll help rebuild all those chakra threads that were cut in your body, well, some of them anyways, I'll have to try to connect some. Said Sakura, and at that instinct he stuck out his arm and looked away. She then did the same procedure she'd done to herself to him. How did the chakra in my cells get cut off? Said Sasuke in an instinct. Quote. That jutsu Naruto learned, is made for that exact purpose. It'll cut all the threads in your body, unable Ling to get them attached again. Said Sakura as she pulled the needle out and placed the cap on it and put it away. Then, don't hold it against him, Sasuke. Naruto spared you, he wanted you to have a life of your own, to keep on being a ninja, even though, well, you're okay, aren't you? No cuts, scratches? Asked Sakura, quickly changing the subject. He didn't use it to his fullest, said Sasuke as he glared at her. No. He did, but he took about 75 of the damage, said Sakura. What about? I'm not allowed to say any more. I will be back next week or next month to give you another checkup, that's for you, said Sakura as she left the small brown beautifully cut box on the table, and walked out of the cell. Leaving him for the Anbu. Sasuke then watched at the pink-haired girl leave. He'd stayed on the floor for a good 2 hours before he got up and silently walked over to the table and looked down at the box. It was sealed, it was left to him, his name was engraved on it. He then tore the seal away and opened the box to find his head protector. His eyes widened for a moment, he knew it was from Naruto. There was a small slip of paper, two actually, one said. 1 free bowl of ramen at Naruto's favorite place. While the other said, for when you decide to become a Leaf member of Leaf once again. And the ticket is for when you get hungry. Because I won't be able to buy you a bowl when you get out. Naruto. Sasuke looked at the note for a minute thinking he was cheap, until it dawned on him, was Naruto planning on leaving the village? 4 weeks later, Naruto stood in front of the Hokage. It had been 4 weeks now, his body and soul was now almost fully healed. He still had a few bandages on his arms. He stood there looking at the Hokage for a long time. She knew what he wanted. She knew for a fact it probably wasn't the smartest idea he ever had, but it was one he wanted to do with or without her help. What is it, Naruto? Can they leave? Said Naruto as he looked at Shizune and Sakura and her Anbu member along with the old hermit. But, started Shizune before the Hokage nodded her head and they left. He knew they wouldn't listen in, so he began to speak. Lord Hokage. That's a first. Smiled the Hokage as she looked at Naruto. I want to leave Konoha for a while, stated Naruto as he gazed directly at her. What? Naruto, is that a joke? No. How long is a while? You know that Akatsuki is after you. I don't know how long, and am aware of that. I can take care of myself. Naruto, what if I were to say no? Then I wouldn't listen. Naruto, this is not a laughing matter. If you were to leave without my permission, then I would have to class you as an S-class enemy ninja. Stated the fifth. S-class, huh? What would be the point of that anyways? It's not like I can actually attack the village. I can't do normal ninja techniques anymore. Smiled Naruto. Naruto, there's nothing left for me right now. Here in Konoha, there's nothing you can do for me anymore, and you know it. There are other ways to live than to be a ninja. That's a life I don't want to live, said Naruto. Ha, Naruto, can't you reconsider? No, if I stay here, then I will be miserable, and probably kill myself, said Naruto as he looked at the Hokage, who seemed taken back. I see, how long? I don't know, till I find someone who can help me. And if you can't, I don't believe in such a word. Smiled Naruto. Quote. I'll be leaving by 2 p.m. today, said Naruto as he turned around and started to walk towards the door. I didn't say. Yeah, you did, smiled Naruto as he opened the door and walked out. Do you believe the rumors? What rumors? The one about the demon brat. Oh, yeah, I heard the whole conversation when I was waiting to get in to see the Hokage. You sneak. Hey, you're just jealous. You wish, so it's true, huh? Said the one Anbu to the other. What rumors about Naruto? Asked Sasuke suddenly, as he sat in his cell, in the darkest corner like all the other prisoners. The one where, shut up, we're not supposed to talk about that, to him at least, said the one Anbu as he glared at the Uchiha through his mask and they kept walking. Naruto, muttered Sasuke as he gazed at the ceiling wondering what the blonde idiot was doing this minute. -3 hours later, Naruto stood in front of the gate. He wore all black, the outfit the fourth had picked out, his head protector around his N. Since his orange suit was totally destroyed, he'd have to wear that till he found a new one. As he stood there, he waited for someone that he knew would come. And sure enough, footsteps could be heard. As he turned his gaze, he looked up to see Sakura and Konohamaru standing before him. Quote. So it's true, you're leaving, big bro, said an almost crying Konohamaru. Hey, don't cry, I'm not leaving for good, just for a while, smiled the blonde. But, started the brown-haired boy before Naruto shook his head and looked at Sakura. Quote. How long are you going to be gone this time? Asked Sakura. Dunno, till I find what I'm looking for. Looking for, muttered Konohamaru. The only people knowing why Naruto was actually leaving were the ones who were allowed to know, such as Kakashi, Jiraiya, the Hokage, Sai and Sakura, along with a few other high-up ninja whom you could trust. Yeah, what I'm looking for, smiled Naruto. Will you right this time? Asked Sakura as Naruto stepped closer to her. Probably not, said Naruto as he started to fiddle with something from around his N. Quote. Sakura stayed silent till he removed his head protector. Hold on to this for me till I get back. I'd give it to Sasuke, but I'm not allowed to see him, and if I did it would only lead to questions, smiled the blonde. I can't. Yeah, she can't. You got that the day you graduated. It symbolizes you're a ninja from Leaf, said Konohamaru. Sakura looked at him wide-eyed, then to Naruto who was looking away. Not many people will trust a ninja, let alone a ninja from an enemy village. And from this day, till the day I come back, I am no longer classified as a ninja, Konohamaru, said Naruto. What do you mean? One day you'll know, but for now I better get going. Tell Kakashi I said goodbye. You're not going to do it yourself? Asked Sakura. No, I couldn't find him anywhere, and I can't waste daylight looking for him. Just tell him, he's an idiot, he'll understand what I mean, smiled Naruto for the last time as he walked through the gate of Leaf Village, for a long time, and maybe even his last. To be continued. X. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.